What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Got another Week 1 preview and prediction video today. We're going to be talking about another weekday game that has caught my eye, set to take place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the home of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, as they are going to be taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who are under a new rule. Pun absolutely intended. Matt Rhule is the coach coming into town. Hey, thank you guys so much for the support on the channel this past summer and this past week, talking about Week 0. Continue to show your support as the first full weekend of college football is just around the corner. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. But there are more ways than that you guys can help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video. You guys can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, anything else you guys are willing and able to do to help interact with or support the channel would mean a lot to me. So, the Nebraska-Minnesota game last season went the way of the Minnesota Golden Gophers when they traveled to Lincoln to play the Cornhuskers. I believe they won it 20-13, something like that. But again, this is going to be a new look Nebraska team, and it's a Minnesota team that isn't without its parts it has to replace either. So this game again set to take place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's go ahead and look at statistics that both of these teams put up from last season. Of course, we are going to start on the offensive end with the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and while it's going to be a new look offense for them this year, last season, you definitely saw moments where the Nebraska offense was really clicking and it was working and everything seemed to go right, and then there were other times that it just didn't. And more often than not, it was the latter that ended up happening for this Nebraska Cornhusker team. Only 22.5 points per game, not even 350 yards per game. They struggled to run the ball at times. At times, they even struggled to throw the ball. And while turnovers were not super plentiful on this team, there were a lot of moments where it came in some really big key moments. And this is an offensive line that just struggled to protect the quarterback, allowed over 2.5 sacks per game. So what did Matt Rhule do? He has overhauled this offensive system. While you have some returners coming back, mainly in the running back and wide receiver room, in the running back room that I think is absolutely loaded, has a lot of really good depth. Gabe Ervin, Ramir Johnson, Anthony Grant, and some others back there as well. Wide receiver, Isaiah Garcia, Castaneda, Marcus Washington are some returners. He also brought in his transfers. Billy Kemp and Joshua Fleeks are some transfer wide receivers that enter this program. And the most important position, or I should say, you also get a new center with Ben Scott transferring it. But the most important transfer of all is very well going to prove to be Jeff Sims. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. Very good Matt Rhule system style quarterback. He will be a phenomenal weapon for this Nebraska Cornhusker team that has a new look offense. But the defense, I think, is what a lot of Husker fans are trying to talk about. Defensive line, that was a concern from them last year. It's probably still going to be a concern from them this year. Ty Robinson is a guy that comes back. You have a couple freshmen there that look to play some pretty key minutes. There are some transfers coming in. MJ Sherman, Chief Borders are a couple guys that transfer into this program that help bolster this pass rush. But it was the defense last year that just struggled really with a lot of the fundamentals. Yes, they allowed over 27 points per game. Yes, they allowed over 400 yards per game. Yes, they didn't force turnovers, didn't create pressure, but at times they struggled with tackling. The very basic fundamental of a defense they struggled with. So not necessarily back to the drawing board for Matt Rhule and company, but it's something that's going to have to improve a ton. You do have a couple injuries to this Nebraska team as well. Teddy Prochaska is injured from the offensive line, and Marquez Buford is injured in the secondary. But again, the defensive line is a huge point of concern. But other than that, hey, Luke Reimer, Nick Heinrich, both of them are back in the linebacker position. The secondary is loaded with talent. Quentin Newsome, Omar Brown, Isaac Gifford, Malcolm Hartzog, and many other names as well. So I think overall this is going to be a much improved Nebraska team. But when we take a look down at the Minnesota Golden Gophers, it's an offense that didn't have to do too much last season. However, what it did do, it was very effective at doing. Yes, Tanner Morgan and company struggled to throw the ball last year, but this is one of the most dominant rushing attacks in college football last year. They were terrific on third down. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't allow a lot of pressure to the quarterback, and that mainly is going to be the story this year, even though there are some new pieces taking over. The offensive line looks to be loaded yet again. It's got a lot of nice talent, a lot of seniors and juniors starting, so it's got a lot of experience, even though they did lose John Michael Schmitz on the offensive line. Of course, he is now a New York Giant. But Anthony Kaliakmanis, he is taking over the quarterback position. I think he has a lot of very nice tools and weapons. And while he may not be in the elite level of quarterbacks in the Big Ten Conference, I think he's going to do more than enough to get the job done. And there are some really good players and transfers all around him. In the running back position, Sean Tyler is coming over. Darius Taylor is a freshman coming in. Zach Evans is back there as a redshirt freshman. A lot of other talent back there. In the tight end position, Brevin Spanford, maybe one of the better ones in college football. Chris Bell, Daniel Jackson come back, and you get guys like Elijah Spencer and Corey Crooms to transfer in. This offense is going to be able to hold its own against pretty much anyone they play this year. But meanwhile, this defense, talk about a defensive unit last year, under 300 yards per game, under 14 points per game. They were one of the best units in the country in third down defense. They were able to stop the run, albeit did not generate a ton of pressure to opposing quarterbacks, but for what they didn't have in a pass rush, they made up for in a run defense. They were very physical. They were very tough. They did not budge an inch on the ground. Again, this was one of the better defenses in the country last season. It definitely could be that way this year as well. Now, they are replacing a couple key pieces, but you have a lot of nice transfers, especially in that defensive back seven. Ryan Selig is a transfer linebacker coming in. Trayvon Jones, Jack Henderson, Tyler Bride, Craig McDonald are some transfers coming in to this defensive secondary to pair with what you already have with a guy like Tyler Nubin, Justin Wally, Darius Green, and some others on the defensive front. You got guys like Danny Strigo, Ja Joyner, Jalen Logan Redding. There's a lot of talent on this Minnesota defense that's still going to be punishing, still going to be one of the better units in the country this year. Okay, Nate, what do you need to watch for while watching this game? Well, let me go ahead and tell you that this Jeff Sims run offense is going to be a much improved unit. Jeff Sims has a lot of talent around him with Gabe Irvin, Ramir Johnson, Anthony Grant in the running back room. The wide receiver room is loaded with talent as well. The offensive line should be improved as well. Again, you do have Teddy Prochaska hurt, but long-term it should be an improved unit. This is just going to be an improved offense from top to bottom for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The lines are going to take time to gel, though. Again, you do have a transfer coming in and a couple of pieces that are returning to the offensive line, of course, with Teddy Prochaska hurt. And the defensive line I've mentioned is going to be a huge concern for this team this year. You got a lot of young guys there. The pass rush was not great last season, and you do lose a lot of key guys off the defensive line from last season. So the lines are going to take some time to gel, which may be a point of weakness that the Minnesota Golden Gophers can look to exploit in this game. But let me tell you something. These Huskers that you're going to see on Thursday are a glimpse of the future. I believe that Matt Rhule is the answer in Nebraska. He's been able to build programs from the bottom up, but will it be enough to pull off an upset? Can enough pieces come together on Thursday for them to go into Minneapolis and pull off a win? It's going to be something exciting to watch. Talking about Minnesota now, we know that the defense is going to do more than enough. It's probably going to be one of the best units the Big Ten sees, if not the country sees this season like it was last year. But how does the offense flow? You do have a couple new pieces. Chris Bell is there for what it feels like the 80th year. You have Sean Tyler, Corey Crooms, who are a couple of Western Michigan transfers coming in, with Brevin Spanford back. You do have a new quarterback taking over, and Anthony Kaliakmanis. Kind of saw him take over last season as well. So how does the offense flow? How does the offense gel? Going to be something to watch. The pass rush, again, was not great at generating sacks last season. It was able to generate pressure from time to time, but the pass rush I do expect to improve. You have a lot of experience in the defensive front, another year under the belt in this PJ Flex system, and I believe that pass rush is going to get a world better here this year, and physicality on both lines will dominate this game. They did lose a lot of physicality when you lost guys like Mo Ibrahim, Trey Potts in the running back room, and John Michael Schmitz on the offensive line. And of course, the defense replacing some key pieces as well, but still going to be very physical offensively, defensively, and is going to take over this game, which leads me to my prediction. Minnesota is the favorite by around a touchdown right now. The FPI likes them. This is a game that you can catch on Fox. Again, it is a Thursday game. And I do agree with Vegas here. These Cornhuskers are not going to go down without a fight. They are going to put up points, not a lot of them, of course, because this Minnesota defense, I think, is going to be able to slow down Nebraska, and the Minnesota offense should be able to take over at points, score late to pull away from this game, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers will go will be getting a week 1 win, but don't discount what the Cornhuskers are going to do in this game. They will fight, they will compete, and they'll be a team to watch in 2023. So there you have it. There are my thoughts on the game. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. And as always, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.